Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Fempreneur True Confessions podcast.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Laura or Oda. I'm the owner of ODAA, Other Duties as Assigned, and we're here to help small businesses behind the scenes get the work done they need to get done and be able to enjoy their business and their lives at the same time.
Yeah. And I'm
Yeah.
Angelique with Lady Powerhouse Solutions. Laura and I do really similar things. I do project and event management for female entrepreneurs who are on fire out there lighting up the world with their passion and their drive. And we help them fulfill their mission in the most authentic way possible. Um, Laura and I help each other. We collaborate. Obviously, we do the podcast together. We're working on another project together. Stay tuned. Big news. Super exciting. At least I think it's exciting.
Yeah, I do
Um,
too. So fun.
yeah. But when Laura and I first met, remind me when that was. It was what, 2020?
21,
Yeah.
2021.
Um,
I joined the
I want
group.
to say it was 2020, but maybe it was 2021.
It has
Um,
to be because I didn't join the group till 2021.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
And that's why the podcast kind of exists. One, it's all Laura's fault. She suggested it. But it probably wouldn't exist if I hadn't been invited to collaborate with her and on it. And we were like, well, what do we want it to be about? And we said, well, what's missing? And what was missing was um, unpolished, imperfect. It
Mhm.
was what we were seeing from female entrepreneurs were all these, just produced perfect Instagram stuff.
Mhm.
None of the like what we were experiencing,
Yeah.
hard stuff. Like being a female entrepreneur isn't all rainbows and, it is sometimes. And
Mhm.
that's the goal, right? That you get to a place where it feels really good.
Yes.
But there is hard work involved. And so that's what we wanted to allow women to come in and say, this is what was hard for me. This is how I overcame it, or this is how I managed to get through it. And
Yeah.
sharing those stories so other women, one, don't feel so alone. Two, could also share our experiences and learn from each other.
Yeah.
Collaboration, right? Over competition. Women stop competing with each other. That's a masculine thing. Like that's a guy thing, right? Women tend to work together, and that is our natural inclination, I feel like.
Mhm.
There's probably research behind that. I haven't done any yet.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
going
we
to
need to
now.
look
Um,
at that.
but,
You definitely need to look at that because I think you're absolutely right. I almost fell. Is that with that collaboration, and we do it is women work more together. I wonder what the
yeah,
statistics are on that, and
we'll have
the
to
statistics
we'll
on
have to
that.
look at that. I recently looked at the statistics for how many female entrepreneurs we've got. Well, we've got a lot. I don't remember the number now. It's gone from my brain, but I do remember it being almost $2 trillion in revenue a
Hmm.
year.
Yeah, and it was up there almost above. It's like 40 something percent. It was in the 40.
40%. Yeah. Yeah. Over 40%. I do remember that of businesses are women powered. So that's why the podcast is here. And we're super excited about today's podcast. We have been remiss in not saying what the title of the podcast is. Today's title is Pause with Purpose, Reflect, Redirect, and Rise. And our guest is Tamey Greene. And Laura, would you like to introduce Tammy?
I would love to. Tammy is known to many as a fierce leader in the world of personal development and holistic wellness, shaking up how we approach business and leadership. A U.S. Navy veteran turned entrepreneurial powerhouse, Tammy holds a master's degree in counseling psychology, along with more certifications than you can count, and has spent over 20 years empowering individuals to live their best lives. Mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, her signature MEPS methodology, mentally wise, emotionally mature, physically fit, and spiritually fulfilled, guides heart-centered, purpose-driven individuals transforming from retirement, corporate jobs, and the military into badass online entrepreneurs. Tammy isn't just here to play, she's here to transform, hold on, the business world into a new era of leading from love, where self doubt is kicked to the curb and success is measured by how much we lift each other up. As a sought after speaker and mentor, she's on a mission to ignite a global movement of radical self love and unstoppable personal professional transformation. So, buckle up, the revolution starts here. Hi.
That's awesome.
Welcome.
Thank you. Such a
Thank you
pleasure
for
to be
being with
here.
us.
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
honored.
it's a pleasure to have you here. I am so excited to have you here, and I know today might be a little rocky and emotional, and that's okay. Um, because this is going to be a little different episode. We normally ask some questions, and sometimes I just go, "Oh my God, you have this powerful story. Would you just share it?" And that's kind of what's going to happen today. But I want to circle back to that last paragraph of your bio because you talk about transforming not just the business world, but ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Leading from love, kicking self doubt to the curb, and measuring success by how much we lift each other up.
Mhm.
And you've had to kind of self coach and self therapy yourself this year, right?
Yes.
um, but I want to start with kind of where we met. We met through uh actually Jackie's been on the podcast before.
Oh, cool.
Jackie Barker. So Jackie introduced Tammy and I to work together, but we ended up just connecting and just being friends and business friends. Um, and eventually she booked an interview here on the podcast. And then last month we touched base again, and I've got a tickle in my throat really, really bad. So I'm going to have to cough. And we talked about, and I just wanted like touch base with her, say hi. My CRM sent her a really goofy email, and she's like, "What is this?" It was really
Right.
funny. It was like the universe was conspiring for us to get together.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I don't think I can do the podcast." And I was like, "Whoa, wait a minute. What's going on?" So I'd love for you basically just like talk about what we talked about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Deep breaths.
I know, right? Uh, I'm going to actually start with 2018, and I'm going to keep it brief, but it's
Yeah.
kind of a little bit of a backstory. In 2018, I was working downtown Portland, Oregon, for a very, very powerful person. And on my birthday, March 22nd of that year, I went into work and I was crying uncontrollably. I couldn't breathe. And it was just the strangest experience to me because I had never experienced anything like that before. And I ended up having to go to the emergency room. They came back and said, "Well, we can tell you what it's not." you know,
Mhm.
like you're kind of like the healthiest person we've met today. And so what it ended up being was a panic attack, and I was just like, no. I was kind of unwilling to accept that, and but there was really no other explanation. And so I started researching it because, I can go down rabbit holes better than anybody. And
Oh, I could give you a run for your money
right,
there.
right. Exactly. And so I started researching it and just was, astounded by the number of people who are affected by panic attacks, who don't know what they were. The fact that they're, mostly not, I shouldn't say mostly, but that they're mainly created from stress and overwhelm and burnout. And, um, and so I came across EFT, which is emotional freedom techniques. And I have, I have a background in counseling psychology. CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, was my choice. And but when I came across EFT, I was just like, oh my goodness! It's otherwise known as tapping, and I said, I got to do this. And so I entered into the certification program from EFT Universe, which was founded by Dr. Dawson Church. And I bring up his name because he is one of the leading researchers in this area. And so I took the certification, and EFT falls under energy medicine, which hopefully within the next couple of years we will see covered by insurance in because it's just fascinating and it just works.
Yeah,
And that
it
was why
does.
I did it. It just works. And so that was in 2018. Since 2018, I have spent, let me rephrase, I have invested
Mhm.
in multiple different programs, marketing and certifications. Um, and so I have a whole host of things that I use, which is amazing and wonderful. But in the same respect, it's also very challenging to market. And I feel like that's been one of my biggest challenges, um, and being able to describe what I do. In 2023, I joined a mastermind with, I think there were nine or 11 people who were just amazing women. The leader is blows my mind. She's just so phenomenal. Can I say her name?
Yeah, absolutely.
It was Kim Woods. She's a master astrologer and business strategist.
We all know
And
Kim.
yeah, she's just, oh my goodness, like that woman's energy just, ah. And so I got pretty clear about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to do it. And one of the gals in there was also Jackie Barker,
Mhm.
who is the founder of Align Soul Designs, and she actually helped me create my previous brand called the Self Love Empress.
Wow.
In 2024, that is when we started. So the Self Love Empress, her birth date is actually December 19th. Oh, we're coming up close to a year. December 19th. And in April 2nd of 2024, we released her to the public. I say we because Jackie was a very big
Mhm.
instrumental part in creating the brand with her designs. And I was super happy. But this year, 2024, has been very challenging mentally and physically. Uh, as I stated earlier, I've probably spent more time in bed in 2024 than I have in the last 4 years. If anybody knows anything about human design, I'm a generator. So like I have energy like nobody's business.
Mhm. Mhm.
And this year I just have not. I've experienced so much, just so much. And when sometimes we need validation, right?
Yeah.
And so it was really lovely. I turned 54 this year, 2024, and it was really lovely that, some of these weird off the wall symptoms I was having, like burning feet, like my feet, the bottom of my feet were burning. I'm like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Uh, and and I talked to a friend of mine, and she's like, "Oh, honey, that's menopause."
Mhm.
I'm like, "What? No." She's like, "Oh yeah." Had never heard of that, because like menopause is just now starting to be studied and talked about openly
Mhm.
for
Mhm.
women. And so anyways, I was really intrigued. I'm like, oh, okay. The 15-pound weight gain that was just like, I haven't changed the way I eat. I haven't changed
Right.
the way I work out. I
Yeah.
haven't changed anything. It's just like all of a sudden, bam, you know, I'm like, okay, well, that sucks. I refuse to buy any other additional clothes because, like, no. um, and then, uh, so I was like, oh, okay. I had stopped taking all my supplements, all like everything, because I just did a reset.
Mm.
and started adding things back in. I started eating even healthier than I already was, and I still just was not feeling it.
Yeah.
And I think it was probably right around the end of September, October, I just was feeling so out of alignment with my brand. And to the point where I had talked to a consultant and a human design consultant. And she said to me, "You're right. You're not in alignment. Like you're not living your design." And this is what I teach. You
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I'm just like, and I believe in that. Like I believe in living how you teach, or what how you live your life, and living in your products and your services. And so she gave me an assignment. She said, "I want you to go out." She said, "I want you to take some time, and I want you to list out every obstacle you've ever overcome in your life." And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" She's like, "I know, I can understand that's probably going to take you days, right?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh." And she said, "But then after you do that," she said, "I want you to sit down and I want you to list out the high side of all your natal chart characteristics and all your human design characteristics." I was like, "That's a lot." Like they're very complex
Yeah.
systems, you know?
Yeah.
And she's like, "I know this is definitely going to take you some time." She's like, "But this is what you need to do." And I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "When you're done, I want you just to review it. And then I want you to ask the universe, what do I need to do with this? And then go out and have some fun." I was like, "Okay." And truth be told, I knew I needed to do this.
Yeah.
I just needed somebody to tell me I needed to do it.
Yeah.
Because
Why is that?
because we can be the best coaches for other people, but
Oh,
when it
there you
comes
go.
to ourselves, it is challenging to self-coach. We
Yeah,
are our
it's
own worst critics.
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, we have little critical committees sitting on our shoulders over here going like, "You're not enough. You're not worthy. You're too this. You're not enough that." You
Yep.
know? And so that's why we get into coaching. That's why other people get into coaching, is because we learn through it, don't get me wrong, but every coach needs a coach, you
Yeah.
know? Even therapists. I've done previous therapy. I'm doing therapy now. I do group therapy, and same thing. Like every therapist needs a therapist.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
know, we need others to help. The whole cliche phrase of "it takes a village." It totally does. This is all about relationships and collaborating and asking for help and all the things that we don't do. Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm off topic, but uh, so I do this exercise, and I consulted with three friends, and this is actually part of my design too. Is I consulted with three friends. I take in their perspectives because everybody has a different perspective, and I took in their perspectives and I sat on it, processed, and formed my own opinion. And the opinion was, I made whew, the most the toughest decision I had to make. I decided to end the brand. And I mean, I was opening up a membership, the whole 9 yards. I was that's what we were working on. We were we were literally selling a membership in November. And in October, I made the decision to end the brand. And so we let the social media go for November. We just didn't do anything with it. But as of November 30th, the brand is no longer in existence. I decided to take November and December off as a pause, which we're in Mercury retrograde right now, so
Yeah.
a good time to do it. And I have hired another consultant, a human design business strategist, to sit down with me and go through my human design. And even though I'm certified level 2 in human design, it's
Yeah.
we go
It's like
back.
you said, we don't have that perspective. We don't have that ability to be, what's the word? Detached, to be
Yes, yes,
objective.
yes, absolutely.
We're biased.
Yes,
All the time, like in my own business, we don't see it for ourselves, but you can see so many things in everybody else's where people
yeah,
are like, well, you do this for a living. Like, this is your business. And I'm like, yes, but for myself, it's so hard. Like, for others, I see clearly. But for myself, it's like mud. And it's like, what the heck, And that there's a reality to that. I hear all the time. Like, great business coaches have some of the muddiest stuff for themselves, but are super clear for everybody they're working with. And it's just so amazing. But there's just a reality there that
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
unexplained.
I'm really excited. Um, it's I don't believe in failure. I mean, the word failure.
Right.
I,
So
I, I
feedback.
believe, yeah, I believe that failure is data. I mean, wasn't it, who was it? The Thomas Edison that, so I can't remember the exact quote, but something along the lines of, it took him how many times to get the light bulb or something, and it
Yeah.
wasn't failures. It was just, data. I can't remember the quote, but anyway. And so that's kind of how I look at it too, is that, everything is a lesson, and we learn from it. And, I've learned personally that I'm not taking any more self-help courses because I've
I
invested way too
recently
many. Go ahead.
I'm a huge Gabby Bernstein, and I know you enjoy her as well. And I
Yes.
love listening to her podcast. And so when I heard that she was coming out with a new book, I was on it. And
Yes.
then when you pre-ordered the book, like way early, you got this free masterclass live with Gabby Bernstein. Now this is worth hundreds of
Oh, yeah.
dollars, and she was giving it away for free just for pre-ordering her book. I'm like, girl,
Oh,
I'm buying it anyway. So I go to this, and and her book is called Self-Help, and it's based in one part of IFS, which is internal family systems, which
Mhm.
is something I had started reading. No Bad Parts by the creator, the founder, however, whatever, of IFS. And back in probably 22. And so I was really interested in it. And she'll actually, when people call in to Dear Gabby, the podcast, she'll actually use IFS on them. And it's really neat to see and
Yeah.
hear. But the master class, she said, I really encourage you to get an IFS therapist. And I'm like, there's there's therapists that specialize in, and not just therapists, but also practitioners. So they're
Yeah.
not a licensed clinical therapist, but they still are a certified practitioner in IFS. So
Mhm.
I did that, and I interviewed a couple within a day or two of each other. And one of them, it was like we were meant to connect, because she said to me, and this is what circles back to what you were saying about being, our own worst critic, our own worst enemy, and needing, therapists need therapists, coaches need coaches.
Mhm.
And I said, I'm a huge reader. I've read, all these different books. She goes, you need to stop reading and start doing.
Yeah.
You need to start applying what you've read.
Yes.
I want
Yep.
you to get a workbook that walks you through how to do that.
Yep.
She goes,
Absolutely.
before we, start working together, because I do want to work with her. Um, and I said, but I think it'll have to be next year because, of finances and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Because they don't take insurance, especially the practitioners. Um,
Yeah.
the licensed clinical therapist, if your insurance covers that, but they have to
Right.
be in network. And so
Yeah.
often they're not.
Yeah. That's
Um,
the same with EFT.
yeah. So, I immediately, while I'm on the phone with her, I'm like, I'm ordering the book right now. The ebook is only this much. She goes, nope, get the hard copy because you
Yep.
need to write in it.
Yep.
Because I feel like if you do the ebook, you won't do the writing part. You'll just do the reading.
Yep.
And she knew that I'm one of those people, like, if there's a blank, I will fill it in.
Yep.
And she's like, no, you need the actual workbook. And we need those people in our lives that will say
Mm,
to us, stop reading and fucking do the work.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
And
I
that's
have,
why we need people to, like, our coaches, we need our therapists, we need our even our BFFs that won't let us slide.
I was just going to say that was the catalyst to my making this decision was on Veterans Day, as a matter of fact. So you said that I'm a veteran. On Veterans Day, my BFF calls me up and she said, "I want to take you out to dinner." And I'm like, okay. And that day was really hard for me. I think in 2024 as well, I've been picking up a lot of other people's stuff. Um,
Mm,
I've always been told I'm an empath, but I don't normally feel it. Uh,
Mhm.
but this year I have been, so that's in addition to all the other stuff, And so, anyways, we went to dinner, and uh, and I said I need some therapy time, and so we went back to her house, and we were chatting, and it's really funny. I'm a Aries Sun, Virgo Moon, and Capricorn Rising. This friend of mine it's just the reverse. She's a Capricorn Sun, Virgo Moon, Aries Rising. So we're
Oh,
literally like bookends. And she's so smart. She owns her own business, brick and mortar. But worked for the government for 30 years. Anyways, amazing, amazing gal. And she is that for me. She's the no bullshit. But it's so cute too, because she's always just like, may I be honest with you? Or may I be frank? And I'm like, of course, I would expect nothing else, right? But that was kind of what she brought into my attention. Her perspective of it was, have you thought about maybe just taking some time?
yeah.
And I remember that evening quite well. I remember being very abstinent, or I don't know if that's obstinate, and I was just like, well, I disagree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or no. And then finally I was just like, I'm going to bed. And the
Hmm.
next morning I literally wrote her a text and I said, I just want you to know that I did hear you.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Sometimes
it's
it's
going to
hard to
process.
hear.
Oh my goodness. So
Mhm.
hard.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
was hard to hear. It
It
was
was really
hard for somebody, for me to hear someone say, you need to stop reading about it and do the fucking work. Now, she didn't use the F bomb,
yeah.
but I felt it.
Yep.
Right.
It was implied.
Put it in
And,
there.
Sure.
We all need that. Like we think. I think sometimes people think friends are the ones that they're gonna agree, they're gonna cheerlead. Yes, you could do it. You can do it all. And
and
I'm
they'll do
like,
that too.
Yeah.
yeah. But I value my friends that are like, look, this is
Yeah.
gonna hurt.
And I want to say
Attention,
something.
you know.
I want to comment on that really quick before I forget about this. I want to say this to all women everywhere. Treat yourself like you would treat your best friend.
Yeah.
If you take nothing else from this podcast, take that. Treat yourself like you would treat your best friend. We have got to start self-loving ourselves,
Hmm.
right?
Mhm.
We have to. It's just like the air or the flight attendants. The oxygen mask. If the oxygen mask
Yes.
dropped, put it on yourself first before you put it on anybody else, right? You
Yeah.
have got to do that because every single person in this world is unique, and
Mhm.
we need that uniqueness. And so you have to start taking care of yourself. This is not about selfishness.
No.
Right.
Self-love is not selfishness.
Right.
Self-care is not selfishness. If you expect anyone else to love you, you have to love yourself.
Mhm.
And this is, I mean, that is part of my makeup. That is part of my human design, is to teach people about love. And that's where we kind of go into this new era of business. You know, we are making a huge shift from a masculinity to a femininity. You know, and this is again in human design. This is, you know, it's being talked about moving away from a materialism view to wealth being more about our wellness, right?
and our
And
experiences.
and our exactly. And so this is where we're going, and we are leading from love. We have to lead from with love. In my world, like what I believe we either come from fear or love, one of the two. And we are
Right.
so fucking fear-based right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
COVID.
it's tearing us
COVID.
apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
and I love what you just said too about doing, because so even though right now I technically don't have a business as of right now.
Yeah.
But I know that in 2025, so first and foremost, 2025 is a year of transition. So whatever you manifest, whatever you plant the seeds for in 2025, that's going to be for your next like 16 to 20 years, right?
Mm.
Because we've got Pluto and Aquarius now. And that's the last time we had that was 1776 to
Yeah.
1796.
Yeah.
But it's going to break all our systems. We're already seeing that happen.
Yeah.
Financial, medical, legal, government, all of those things, right? We're going to see a rebuild. But so 2025 is that transition year.
Yeah.
So utilize it. And so that's kind of what I'm looking at too. My just from looking at my natal chart, I personally foresee March being like the month where I bring out whatever is, right? But I know in my heart and in my soul that it's going to be a community. It's going to be a
Mhm.
community-based membership, and that community-based membership is going to be with implementation. Like it's not just going to be about me teaching you how to do things or teaching you, you know, tools. I mean, there's going to be a lot of that, but it's literally going to be about how do you start living your design?
Yeah.
Mhm. I love it.
Heart purpose or heart driven,
Yeah.
heart centered, purpose driven, you know, working with people who are transitioning out of their corporate world because they just cannot take it anymore,
Mhm.
or transitioning out of the military or retiring, you know, all the because that's where we're at now. You know, we're in like the 40s and 50s. This is where we're going. Um, and so we have to start living purpose driven,
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
you know.
absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Um, and so today's podcast is Pause with Purpose, Reflect. So you talked about the reflection part, and now you're kind of in that redirect. And I think part of what we miss in the redirect is the rest,
yeah,
Right.
right?
absolutely.
The rest. And
Hmm.
part of it's in the reflect as well, but reflect feels like work sometimes.
I know.
And
Yeah.
it doesn't feel like rest. It is emotionally draining.
Yes.
Maybe
Yeah.
not physiologically, but emotionally, it's work.
Yes.
Mhm.
And that redirect, and it feels like an action word, but that
Mhm.
action is part of it is rest
Hmm.
and self-care and
Hmm.
self-love,
Hmm.
because you can't rise, which is the next part of it, without filling back up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And
And
again, going to human design, there that's one of the things that it teaches you is how to utilize your energy. You
Mm.
know, because
yeah,
there's different types, and like again for me, a generator, I have the energy to where, you know, I utilize it all day long, I burn it out, and then sleep, and then I start it all over again.
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
but there are other types that actually go by a moon cycle. There are other types that have to completely burn out and then take, you know, however much time to rest. And rest is different. And that's one key thing too. Rest is different for
for different people.
people. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
My rest right now is just, I have a list this long, you know, on business things that I need to get done, like registering as a female owned business or a veteran owned business. And I think about that and I'm like, oh my God, that's admin stuff that I really just don't want to do. And I have procrastinated it this entire year. And it will continue to be on my procrastination.
Right. Until you hire somebody like me or Laura from our team to help you. But anyway,
Yeah.
we're not here to promote our business. We're really not. But can't miss those opportunities.
Right.
So for you said rest looks different for everybody.
Mhm.
What are you concentrating on right now? What's going to be working for you these next November's gone. You said
Yeah.
you took November off, but it's gone now. So what are
I
you
know.
doing in December to rest?
It's been spending a lot more time with my friends, which is obviously a good season to do it because, just this week
Yeah.
alone, I think there's 4 different gatherings this week. And it's not like event gatherings out. It's like somebody's house, hey, we're inviting, 20. I live in a wine town. So when I say we're inviting our friends over, it's usually 20 to 30 people anyway. But so
Mhm.
it's just friends of ours that are inviting people over, they have a window of maybe 5 hours, stop in, whatever, um, and and um, and so it's doing some of those things. We had a parade on Saturday that we attended to. Um, I got together with a friend of mine yesterday for brunch. So yeah, just little gatherings, getting together, just enjoying each other's company and, not talking business.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's kind of what I'm doing right now.
I read an article yesterday in Oprah magazine, which I don't even know why I got it, to be honest, but it just showed up in my mailbox. So it had my name on it. Okay, I didn't steal it. Um, and there was an article in there about biohacking,
Oh yeah.
which is a
Mhm.
huge thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, but this article was by a woman, and she said, forget biohacking. Women already have this figured out.
Mhm.
We already have this figured out. The research shows that it comes down to joy and connection.
Yeah.
And we're already naturals at doing this, finding joy in what we do,
Yeah.
doing those things instead of the things which we can also call procrastinating.
Yeah.
But connection, like it doesn't have to be a huge party.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's like you said, I just chatted with my girlfriend yesterday and I'm like, I want to see you. Let's have
Yeah.
dinner. Let's
Yeah.
go get something to eat.
Mhm.
And so, and don't discount the benefits of that
Right.
because there's research based evidence that this
Mm.
brings longevity to your
Yep.
life.
Yes.
And we're already out and living the men's anyway. But,
So
um, but we already
we
have this figured out. We don't need plasma infusions. We don't need like there's some extreme shit going on out
Oh, I
there I
know.
didn't even know about.
Yeah.
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 And I'm all for healthy, eating and moving and breathing and
Yes.
grounding and all of those things. I'm not
Yes.
saying any of that is not working.
Right.
But it was a really cool article. I really recommend if you get a chance to read it. I'll try and remember to drop it in the show notes. But so that's redirect. And
Mhm.
what fuels that redirect is the rest, right? And
Mhm.
building
Mhm.
back up and whatever that looks like for you.
Mhm.
Um,
For
Laura,
that
what does that look like for you?
I was just gonna say, as a manager, I tend to really deplete all the
Yeah.
way down.
Yep.
So regenerating and kind of getting back to that point, a night's sleep is not necessarily the option because even when I'm at my lowest of energy, I'm still up,
Yeah.
like tweaker mode. But it's kind of it's just very it's strange. So I have not learned the art of that. What I do know, like this last week and a half, I am sleeping later and I'm not insisting on getting up early. Like I
Right.
used to be like, no, I've got to get up, except for the 2 days I absolutely cannot play with. Outside of that, I'm like, no, I can do the extra half hour. It's okay. And I've just kind of been giving into that, but I don't think I ever like fully replenish unless I really just completely shut the world out,
Yeah.
like fully out for some time, for some hours, if not a couple days.
And it's okay to do that.
Okay.
That's the thing. We have to give ourselves permission and literally have to say, I give you permission sometimes.
Yeah.
Because the thing is that, I loved what you said about, we already know how to do this. And every single person, every human knows how to heal themselves. It's just that we don't have it. And this is my opinion. We have everything we need inside ourselves. We just haven't been taught how to access it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right. And so I deal a lot with the subconscious, and that's where you access it. So there's a lot of, like, even in group therapy, I teach my clients in group therapy all the time. I'm like, I teach them about free journal writing. Here's a prompt, and then set your timer, and don't worry about going out of lines or misspelling words, just free
Yeah.
write, because that is how you access the subconscious. Your subconscious will tell you everything you need to do.
Mhm.
Girl, I remember reading some stuff that I had written at some point in my life. I ran across something and I read it and I was like, one, that's damn good. Two, I don't remember writing that at all.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like I got into this flow and it just started coming out and
Yeah.
all these yummy words and goodness. And I was like, I wrote that. That's my handwriting. I wrote that.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so I wholeheartedly believe
Mhm.
that that is true. I think for me lately, um, I'm a Manny Gen as well. Um, and well, you know that, Tammy, because you did my human design. But I'm also a Gemini, and I've got some other stuff that, um, and childhood trauma and intergenerational trauma
Hmm.
that um, I'm still working on, but I did start the work in 2021. That was my catalyst year, near the end of the year, and and I don't know when I quote unquote arrived. Do we ever arrive? But
Right.
got to a place where I felt comfortable in my own body again, my own
Yeah.
skin, my own life, and I didn't feel like I had to perform or I had to I had to do something different. Like there was something that I still had to do.
Yeah.
Um, and
Mhm.
that I think that thing was to be with someone. Like I went through my third divorce, and in my adult life, I've never not been married
Hmm.
or in a serious relationship or seeking that. And this
Hmm.
is the first time in my life I'm not looking. I'm
Mhm.
super happy about that. Um,
Yeah.
and um, and I just want to put it out there. I am, however, available for a lavender marriage. Okay, I'm just saying. If anybody out there needs that, that is something I'm open to. Um, and if you don't know what listeners, if you don't know what that is, just Google it. Um, but I think, for me, the rest part of it has been an evolution of at first it because I love to sleep. That's like my second favorite thing to do. Um, okay, maybe third, but anyway. Um, but I feel like my body has finally gotten to a point where okay, you're rested,
Hmm.
and I actually wake up without an alarm most days, and you know, and some days I wake up at 5 a.m. and I'm fine with it. I've learned that going back to sleep is not an option, so I just
Yeah.
get up.
Yeah.
And then the next day I might sleep till 9. The cat isn't happy about it, but I.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I don't get to sleep past 9 according to him. So I love that all of our our rest is different for
Yeah.
everyone.
Mhm.
And whatever it is that you feel like you come away from feeling peace, I mean, what's the barometer?
Well, and that's just it. Again, it's individual.
Mhm.
We can set parameters, we can set guidelines, we can do foundations, things like that. But honestly, it's literally individual. And I think that's another thing that hopefully that's up and coming is that, again, we are a unique individual. There's no one size fits all. We cannot do cookie cutter approaches anymore.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Right.
When I see clients in my group therapy, some of them have been like, I've been in therapy for 12 years. And honestly, I got to tell you, my first question is why?
Mhm.
Why are you in therapy for 12 years?
Mhm.
Therapists are probably going to kill me for this one, but
You are in
You might
trouble.
get some shade for that one.
I know, right? But and again,
Mine
that's
was
why I like
free.
EFT is because EFT, you talked about trauma. Here's the thing with EFT. Okay, so I'm a veteran. I'm also the director of Veteran Stress Solution, which is a nonprofit that offers free services for veterans and their families for free for the symptoms of PTSD, because that's what EFT does. So if you can literally, and science proves this, research proves this, it's all out there, but if you can literally take a combat war veteran and relieve them of their PTSD symptoms in 6 1-hour sessions of EFT, and it lasts, last
Yeah.
time I looked, it was up to 3 years. What do you think we can do with trauma?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
now,
And
go ahead.
I had a really similar experience to you. I think it was in 2019, maybe 2018. I had a panic attack. I was on vacation, had a panic attack, but I had no idea what it was.
Mhm.
I didn't remember parts of what had happened.
Mhm,
My
mhm.
husband at the time told me, you did this, this, and this, and then we ate out. And I'm like, I have no recollection of that whatsoever. Um, and then and then after separating and getting out of a really toxic relationship, I started, every time I'd lay down, I'd have these, I just, I couldn't fall asleep. And then I
Mhm.
would have this, there was no way to I couldn't describe it. I couldn't
Yeah,
find words for it. I just knew I was not well in my
yeah,
body.
yeah.
And tapping helped me get through what I learned later was anxiety.
Yep.
Mhm.
Um, and um and I still use it. Occasionally I will lay down, it'll come back and I'll be
Mhm.
like, all right, here we go.
Yep. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it does work. And I
Mhm.
don't understand all the science behind it, but it does work. So if you haven't heard about it, I highly recommend that. What's a good source?
Well, actually, the tapping solution,
Okay, that's
they
the
put,
app I use.
yeah, that's the Ortners, Nick, Alex, and Jessica.
Yeah.
They've been putting on an annual summit. I think this is the 13th year, 13th or 14th, and it just happens to start December 16th or 19th, somewhere around there, and it's free. It's like
Okay.
6 days of tapping from some of the most renowned experts in tapping. And, and so that's a great place to start. They also have an app, the Tapping Solution app,
Yeah.
that I'm not an affiliate, by the way, but they have the app where you can download, and I think you get either 7 or 14 days for free. They've got like over 200 tapping meditations on there now. I literally use it in my group therapy. I tell all my clients, we tap during group sessions sometimes. I'm also do a lot of things, but I'm also a professor at American Military University, and it's one of the resources that I offer to my students because I teach psychology of combat and psychology of disaster. So I'm always offering that to them. If you're interested in getting certified, I definitely go to EFT Universe. In my opinion, they have the best certification for EFT practitioners, but they also have a ton of resources. And then Peta Stapleton, she's a professor out of an Australian university, and again, she's one of the top researchers in this area, so or in EFT area. So as far as other practitioners are concerned, Brad Yates is really amazing. He's kind of funny, and I don't know. He has a lot out there. There's so many really wonderful practitioners. Carol Look has been doing this. I think she was trained by Gary Craig back in the day. Karen Curry Parker, she does
Yeah.
tapping and human design. So that's where I'm getting certified in my human design is with Karen Curry Parker for quantum human design.
And you said Carol?
Carol Look.
Look, okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
We're frantically taking notes over here for the show notes.
Sorry, I know. I will tell you, I am like a plethora of resources.
Yeah. I remember us talking, I think it was last month. It was like we were talking about business and certifications and stuff. And it came down to, it doesn't matter how many letters are behind your name. People don't care.
No,
People don't care. They care about what you can do for them and the outcomes.
absolutely. Yeah.
You know, while it is not, and I'm not poo-pooing certifications. Okay. Don't go there. I'm not doing that. But I'm just saying that, you know, you don't have to have those things to be effective.
Right.
And to work inside your zone of genius, whatever your calling is. That's, and I'm talking to myself right now. Because I'm in a really similar place as you, Tammy, in that I know that there's something I'm supposed to be doing. I'm not doing it yet.
Yeah. Yep.
And I don't know. I haven't yeah. So
and that's what I want
feel
to do.
you, girlfriend.
Yeah. And literally that's where I'm moving into is I really, really, truly want to work with the heart-centered, purpose-driven individuals that are getting out of this life, reinventing themselves for the next chapter of their life. Because let's face it, like we are starting like this amazing lives in like our late 40s, early 50s now. And it's just like, because we've become wise. We don't give a shit what the Joneses think anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it's not worth trying to keep up with them. You know, we're starting to focus more on ourselves and our closest people. And it's like, I don't want people to have to go through what I'm going through. Because and that's part of my human design is I know I am meant to share my experiences and my knowledge and my education and my talents and my skills, all of these things, so that others don't have to go through the trials and tribulations. We all have our own trials and tribulations, but if I can help ease that for anyone, then that's great. Same thing with the, like I said, with working with trauma. We now know that we have ancestral trauma.
Yeah.
So it's not even ours. I just had an episode Saturday night, not even joking. We were watching the parade. And all of a sudden there was this float that had this noise. I can't even tell you what the noise was at this point. This noise, and literally my body tensed up. Like I felt my shoulders raise. I felt the tension in my body, and then tears started coming down my face, and I'm just like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
I'm in a winery, or in a tasting room with all these people watching this parade, and now I've got tears coming down my eyes, and I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like trying to run through the winery to get to the bathroom so nobody sees me, and of course everyone does, and all I remember is seeing all these faces like, oh my God, are you okay? I'm like, I'm fine. Just having a trauma response. It's not mine. God, it was so creepy. But it's real. Like this is happening. We are picking up because we're all connected. We are all energetic beings and we are connected. And like I did a bunch of muscle testing later because I was like, what happened? Like, what do I need to know about this experience? And what I learned was it wasn't mine.
Right.
And that's huge. When you're an empath, you have to protect yourself. Right.
Yeah.
And I have been.
I am learning that how to protect my energy and not allow other people's vibe to affect me.
Yeah.
And it's because I want to, be able to relate and understand and be empathetic to what someone's going through, but at the same time, not allow it to affect me.
Yes.
You don't want to live it. You want to understand it, but you
Yes.
don't want to live the experience with them unless
Right.
it's someone close. But yeah, that I always worry like, or always feel like, oh, I don't want to live this with you. Right? I don't know you like this. Like,
Yeah.
I'd
I
like for
was
you to come out of this area and I'll hold your hand or whatever. But yeah, I don't. That controlling of people's energy suck is really like, or
and it really came up for me last month. I was at a gathering with someone that I'd met before,
Mhm.
and I didn't really get a negative feeling from her, like a negative vibe or anything like that, but just something about her was off. Like
Mhm.
I didn't want to be near her, like
Yeah.
physically near her.
Yep.
And but at the same time, I was like, but she's so nice, she's just so friendly, and she seems to be so caring, and we're like, our values seem to align. And yet there was this cringe kind of feeling.
Yeah.
And I was actually recently, saw her again, and it's the same thing. Um, but she also said some things, and I'm like, oh, now I get it.
Mhm.
Now I get it. Um, and then later on, I was talking to my Reiki practitioner about that experience, and she just confirmed, for me, like, yeah, I can tell that, we need to do some stuff here
Yeah.
with you. And that, it just made me realize that I need to be a little bit more intentional about that protecting
Right.
part.
Absolutely.
Um, I felt like it was kind of, what's the word? Almost like a habit, or just like an automatic thing I was doing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But I've never intentionally said, okay, this is my barrier. I'm
Right.
protecting this, and then going out to be with people. And
Yep.
I do that now.
Yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
And
Good.
it's been really helpful for me,
Yeah.
And again, that brings me peace and rest, and that sense of like almost relief,
Hmm.
Mhm.
you
Yeah.
know,
Well, like
especially when
we talk about COVID and how they do the 6 feet bubble. I was so excited, like, because now I could really be like, get out of my bubble. How
Totally.
dare you step in my bubble? Like, you could be that person now.
Yeah.
And it was because I'll look crazy. I'll be like, you got arms. Because there's a feeling, and I didn't, we were recently, I was at the hospital and I figured out that it overwhelmed me. I can't do hospitals. I figured out what happened to that whole
Yeah,
ordeal,
that's right.
the
That's right.
nose and stuff. And I'm like, no hospitals, because
Yeah.
I don't have enough control and blackout. But
Right.
I literally will physically say it and do it and be like, no, step 6 feet to the right, back, I don't care where, but I can feel you. Go away.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and people will look at you crazy, but there's such a reality to that. I'm like, it's
Oh,
not
absolutely.
a germ barrier. It is an energetic barrier.
Yes.
Please, three feet,
Absolutely.
8 feet to the left, whatever. But I loved COVID brought that.
Yeah.
Because I, as a kid and as a person, my whole life, I've always been like, why are you in my bubble? Like, you can immediately just see it happen. Like, why are you so close to me? And people thought I didn't like people will think like, oh, she doesn't like affection, or she doesn't like people, and she's rude and
Mhm.
like squirmy around people. And that's exactly what it is. And now we really can just be like, nope, 6 feet
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
And not be rude or
Well,
say,
yeah, it's been
I'm scared.
mainstreamed, right? It's been
Right.
mainstreamed.
Yeah.
And so now it's socially acceptable,
Yeah.
politically correct, whatever. Um, One of the last things I want to touch on is from your bio, where you talked about success being measured by how much we lift each other up.
Mhm.
And I want to brag on you a little bit, because when we first talked, when did we first talk? Like it was,
I think
uh,
June-ish.
yeah,
Might
like
have been
not
June.
long after you kind of went live.
Yeah.
Um, and when we were talking, we had recently had a podcast guest that talked about she has a self-love club.
Right.
And you were like, "Oh my God, I love that." And I'm like, "Girl, run with it, you know?" And you
Yeah.
did.
I
You
did.
started a self-love club on your website. I signed up for the wait list. And I loved what you called it. You called it the Quantum Self-Love Club. And
Mhm.
I was like, "Yes, queen," because I I have that project in my project management software, the Self Love Club, and I started working on it. But it had to take a back burner because, well, I only have so many hours in a day.
Right?
And this was, you know, earlier in the year, and I was about to go into surgery, and I just didn't have the energy to do it.
Mhm.
Everything happens for a reason. So then you take it and run with it. And then last month we talk, and you tell me, um, very, just it was such a, I tell you what, I felt really honored that you opened up to me the way you did about everything.
Thank you.
And then and then you said, "I'm going to give you Self-Love Club." And you transferred the domain. And Tammy and I, gosh, we're both hoarders of
Wow.
URLs, domains. We like to buy domains because we like to buy domains. And so it's like when we think of an idea,
Uh-huh.
like I started a new book club called Read Between the Wines, and I went out and bought like the domain. I haven't done anything with it, but eventually I would love to franchise it. So I went out and bought the domain. So Tammy had all these different versions of the Self Love Club domains, and she literally gave me one.
Love it.
And the one I was like, "I love Quantum Self-Love Club."
Yeah.
So she literally transferred it, gave me ownership of it. And I just felt like that was such a, like, mom used to say, "Put your money where your mouth is." Like, you really do support other women
Yeah.
and collaborate. And, um, and I think I've said this, but thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I can't wait I've already worked it into my plan of what I'm planning to do with it. And I'm super excited about it. But I just wanted to brag on you a little bit
Thank you.
because
Appreciate that.
that is like that what you talked about, that success is measured in where did it go? And
How
measured
we,
how much we lift each other up.
yeah.
And so thank you for lifting other women up, because I've seen you do it. And I personally believe that what you give out comes
Mhm.
back at least threefold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember that, people.
Yeah.
So if you're out there talking bad and talking shit or whatever, remember that it's going to come back. Karma,
Yeah.
real.
Big way.
Um, so I wanted to for sure talk about that. And thank you. Um, and we've gone so much over time, so we're going to have
Right.
to wrap up.
I know,
But
right? I was just noticing that too. I'm like, I got to go to work soon.
yeah. Um, so one of the things we like to do is have the current guest introduce the next guest. And next week's guests are um, Kate and Casey, um, Kate Woodward Young, and Carrie Casey. And super excited about them. And I'll let Tammy tell you why.
So Kate and Carrie have been business partners since 1999 and cousins since 1971. It's like the year after I was born.
Right.
As third generation entrepreneurs raising the fourth generation, their business passions ignited in elementary school. I love this. Where they started as Girl Scouts selling cookies. I just remember that. By their early 20s, they had engaged in MLM, party businesses, started nonprofits, franchises, and worked in their parents' enterprises. Before turning 21, they each launched their first business. Kate founded a printing business after her role as a business analyst with the SBA and a WBE evaluator, while Carrie established her first child care center. Ooh. Over the next 25 years, they ventured into publishing companies, real estate developments, house flipping, and staffing agencies, experiencing the highs and lows of entrepreneurship for sure. Their extensive journey has equipped them with invaluable insights, which they've shared through their coaching and consulting with nearly 5,000 entrepreneurs. That is awesome.
So somewhere in there, I read there it is. They've been in business working with each other and sharing clients for over 25 years.
That is awesome.
Isn't that awesome? And so, I mean, talk about role models and putting your money where your mouth is. They've been doing it for 25 years and both of them are thriving.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I can't wait for our conversation with them. Tamey, thank you so much for being here and being so vulnerable and sharing your story. I feel like it is one of the most important things that we can share with other women as well as female entrepreneurs is that sometimes letting go of something can be really hard, but that's also, like the Chinese proverb where, you close one window and another one opens.
Yeah.
And I believe that, this investment is going to be huge for you in the coming year.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you. I wanted to mention one last thing that I apologize, but I mentioned the mental and the physical. I mentioned menopause. What I failed to mention was overwhelm or burnout.
Mm-hmm.
Stress and overwhelm can lead to burnout, and burnout is not fun. I believe you've actually experienced it too, Angelique, haven't you?
Oh God.
Yeah. It is not a fun place to be. And honestly, I didn't recognize myself with all my credentials. I did not even recognize that I was experiencing it. So that's why I'm resting, is to recover from burnout. And I know this is a lesson for me, and I know it will be included in the things that, I present in 2025. So
I think one of the most important lessons we can learn as a business person is to prevent the burnout.
yes.
It's going to happen occasionally because there's highs and lows, but for me, learning how to prevent it, learning how to manage my time and energy in a way that doesn't allow burnout to become
Exactly
this stumbling block or challenge, or because it affects you physiologically as well.
Yeah, it's very detrimental.
Yeah. Stress is one of from that article I mentioned, stress is one of the most dangerous things we can do for our longevity. It's one of the most detrimental. And one of the things I thought was really interesting was, in addition to being monetizable, all these biohacks and everything, they're stressful. You have to keep track. You have to take all these things. You have to do how stressful is that?
Yeah.
So it's almost counterproductive.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But because it's monetizable, I think that's why it's still out there doing its thing. But thank you for bringing that up, because that is a very important point that we didn't get around to.
I know.
Wow.
Well, we'll just have to, when I get my shit together, not that, but when I come back, when I rise,
we definitely want to check in with you again.
Yeah. When I rise in 2025, then we'll do another podcast.
Absolutely. Wonderful. All right, guys.
I
You're
appreciate both of
so
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
We will see you guys next Monday at 12 Eastern.